the next 30 minutes is going to be about, how all of us can brainstorm and figure out. We attend so many events in our lives, and most of it, we just come back with a lot of tired legs, right? I think we want to see if we can really have a formula or a playbook to dominate our events that we attend. So that's the whole idea of this presentation. Just a quick introduction. My name is Anis. I'm the founder and CEO of Step Up One. Have attended hundreds of events in the past. Some extremely well prepared, some just things. So just to give you an example of an extremely well prepared event, we used to go to the World Economic Forum, which is happening just now. And, we used to have like 20 to 30 people preparing for the World Economic Forum for almost 3 months. So, the pre-event preparation would run almost for 3 months with more than 20 to 30 people dedicated for preparing for the World Economic Forum. And then the World Economic Forum just happens for like 4 days, right? And then and during that 4 days, there is even more people supporting the people on the ground to create that impact that we really wanted to create, right? And then after the event, there's another 20 to 30 days of, extraordinary work to follow up and close and convert all the conversation that happened. Now, if I think about it, the amount of effort that we put for something like a World Economic Forum VAL, we never do it for the 99 other events that we have done in my past life. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe you cannot put that kind of an effort. So on one extreme is the World Economic Forum, where you would put like 30 people pre, 20 people during, and maybe 5 people team, after the event is over. So one event is nearly not just 4 days, but it's actually 3 months. Right?
Yep.
So, that's one extreme. Then there are these events that we just simply go, and then, we just come back without really getting any benefit. So basically, that's my thinking. How could we maximize the benefit of attending events without spending that kind of effort like we used to do for the World Economic Forum, but also not doing nothing, and just going to events with some hope. And so that's we want to find the middle ground where we can get the maximum bang for the buck. So that's a quick and introduction about who I am and what we do. Let me go to you, Val. If you can just do a really quick introduction, then we can get started.
Well, let me see. Something that's as relevant as going to Davos would probably be my work at the Office of the President almost a decade ago. But I mean, mainly what I have become an expert during the past years is just in understanding the intricacies that being a startup, right? And working closely with founders has provided me with a lot of insights as to what challenges are faced by startups. So immediately when you start, telling about the challenge that events represent, the first thing that I think about and that I've heard from our clients is, oh my God, all my budget, a good chunk of my budget has been allocated to attend events. And then after I come back home, kind of like that investment doesn't pay off, right? And again, we're talking about, for the most part, early stage startups, a lot of them which will be attending Web Summit in Doha. And so what we want to do from Step Up One, and something that we are very, very passionate about, is how do you provide startups and entrepreneurs that are putting basically their livelihood on the line, right, to make a company kind of have an impact in the world. How can we provide them with very high quality services at a price or a budget, right, that can align with their journey, with their business journey? I think that's one of the major challenges. And when you were mentioning, the investment, well, why are we doing this specifically for Web Summit in Doha? Is because we were talking about this earlier this week, and it's like, how much is the investment that a startup on average is doing to attend the event? I think you mentioned like
I think
10,000, 15,000.
look, worst case, I think you just if you don't if you starve yourself during those 4 days, still you would you would end up spending, let's say, 5K, right? Like if you don't do anything other than flying and staying in a
Breathing.
hotel. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Breathing.
Yeah. So otherwise, you're talking about anywhere between 5K to 10K US dollars, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
So imagine a startup, right? What that represents in an early stage startup budget, right? And
it's a lot
then
of
you
money.
go there and you just like show up and expect kind of like the event to kind of solve all these, expectations or meet all these expectations you have about getting visibility, about getting funding, um, about getting feedback from investors. So I would say those are the three main expectations from startups attending Doha. Um,
Amazing, amazing. So well, I think why don't we just make these points that we both have been brainstorming for the last few weeks about Doha. So let's just get into the meat of the event, and let's try and brainstorm this together. So look, first we want to define what do we really mean by dominating your events, right? I think it's important to start with definition. What we really mean is, if you spend, let's say, $1,000, just for, you should be able to make $5,000 back as a return on investment from this event in the short term. A short term is defined as 3 months, let's say. So that if you did that, if you're able to get a 5x ROI in the next 3 months after attending the event, then I think it has been a good event for you, right? That's the first definition of what we mean by dominating thing. But that's not enough, right? You should be able to extract 100 times ROI in the long run, right? So the whole event, you just signed up one investor or you just met with one client. But throughout the lifetime of the client, if you're able to get 100x from that one client, then you have achieved the second metric that we wanted to present to you. So 5x in the short term, 100x in the long term. It might sound big, but trust me, this is actually not big. Maybe it could be even 1,000 times the amount of money that you spend in an event can just come from one client, right? And that's what we think is a thing. But the best definition we've got is from one of our clients. She said, you know what? The best ROI you get when you have cracked, that you have cracked it. If you are closing deals, whether it is investor deals or whether it is client deals or even partnership deals, even before the event has started. So right now we have like nearly 30 days, Val, to
yep.
Doha.
4 weeks. Mm-hmm.
4 weeks, right?
Yep.
Imagine we are able to close an investor who's attending Doha 10 days before the event even starts. I think that is honestly the true success, if you ask me. So, even though this is not included in our definition, one of our client, talked about this, and we thought we'll include that line, here. But this is really the ultimate success, because this shows how good you are in your prep, isn't it? All right. Of course, you can Google this and, find out more. That typical 80-20 rule. 80% of your success is determined by what you do before the event even begins. So honestly, if you're investing even $100, you got to make sure that, you have done your pre-event stuff. I think that's what, we are trying to say, right? Uh, but what we have observed again and again and again is people leave events with just a lot of business cards and a massively tired feet, right? I have had this, especially I remember my initial slush, you know, events, yeah, I mean, I used to have a lot of fun with all the, sauna and, -10, -20 degree, slush that happens in Helsinki. But I realize that, when you don't prepare, you are left with just cards, not real relationships or connections. So, we wanted to divide the problem into three parts, the pre-event, the during the event, and the post-event. The pre-event failures, Val, are mainly because people think they can wing it, right?
Exactly.
Honestly, well, you ask some 20 founders, what is their strategy? See, they might say something. They will say, oh, my strategy for Web Summit Doha is to find 3 meetings with 3 investors and close one. Like that's their objective. But what is the strategy to meet that objective? I think that's what we need to focus on, right? So most of
If
them
you
will.
let me, if you let me
Yeah,
say something, just I
go
mean,
for
just
it.
so that I'm not sure that maybe like everyone attending now at the audience knows, but Web Summit is one of the world's largest and most influential technology conferences, right? So it brings together global leaders, innovators, startups, investors, and industry professionals from various sectors. So I just wanted to bring that into the equation because it's not like you're walking into just a founder and funders small event, or big event, but it's just not that kind of like gathering. I mean, this is huge. This is the most important technology conference you'll ever come across. And there's only probably 2 to 3 organized throughout the year. And so, yeah, missing out on those opportunities and having like a very low expectation or a benchmark in saying, oh, I'm gonna, invest, 5 to 10K and then be happy with just getting like 3 investor meetings.
Yeah.
I think I understand the logic behind that because as you and I know, the first kind of like investment is, or the first funding that a startup gets is the most difficult one.
Yeah.
But still, you want to kind of like look and be a little bit more hungry, more ambitious in terms of growing your network. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that into the conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, look, what we're trying to really beat around here is, you need to have a clear strategy, and if you think you're going to the event to follow the event agenda, then you're failed already,
Exactly.
right? If you're going to attend the event and sit in all those lectures, then you shouldn't be the founder of the company. Ideally send somebody who can listen to all the great knowledge that's being given out, and take notes and, sort of update you every day, right? The only thing you should be doing as a founder and CEO is meeting with investors, meeting with clients, meeting with partners. I mean, this has been my thing. Yes, don't get me wrong, Amal. I love the keynotes. I love the side conversations. I love the breakouts. I love them, right? But what I realized is I can always hear them on my way back on the flight, right?
Yeah, exactly. And with all the
Yeah,
technology now, right? Like
yeah,
all
yeah,
the,
yeah.
AI, all this technology to like record. I
Like,
think that the real
yeah,
breakthrough happens
I
when you're
yeah,
networking.
absolutely. I wouldn't waste a single minute, even on the best keynote. Which is very counterintuitive, isn't it? I would do breakfast meetings, I would do dinner meetings, I would miss the keynotes, but I would never miss a one-to-one meeting, because all I
Meeting,
want to do in
exactly.
an event is just one-on-one meetings. There must be other people in your company who you can definitely send, in order to listen to all the great wisdom that is being given out in all these keynotes, right? But as a founder CEO, your job is to meet with people one-on-one, right? I think that people forget, actually, right? Let me just run through the other things, right? And then what happens during the event? Another thing, no random meeting. I mean, yeah, serendipity is always good. Random meetings are always good. Side conversations are always good. But you got to have, qualified, pre-qualified. In fact, one of the things that I tell my guys is, look, I don't want to meet with anyone that I have already not met at least once before the event starts.
I
That
think that's
might
a
sound
great
really,
point. Exactly. Hmm.
but it might sound really weird. You're going to an event so that you can meet somebody in person, right? But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, don't meet with anyone if you have not met with that person already once on your Zoom. That's really like, wow, that means I should work so hard to qualify that person that I'm going to meet in person, right? Because if somebody is qualified, if somebody is a super target, look, remember, meetings happen because you like that person and you're going to get something out of them. And that person also likes you and he thinks he's going to get something out of you, right? So both of you are going to have value created in that face-to-face meeting. But I always insist that we do a quick 10 minutes, 15 minutes catch up on a Zoom to get to know each other so that when we meet in person, we are ready to handshake, right?
Yeah, and just so that everyone here, Anis, maybe it's just interesting that you and I, like we are walking the talk, right? So we started our preparation to attend Doha 2 weeks ago. So it will be a 6-week preparation, and we're more than happy to. We will actually share some of the findings and the outcomes, but we already have lined up meetings with people and colleagues that are attending Doha. So I want to make sure that, we connect with them, and make sure, as you say, that there's a mutual benefit in spending time together once we get to Doha. Because maybe there's something we can do over Zoom. So yeah, I think that's also very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of the founders think, oh, I've got this meeting with this investor. Oh, I'm like so lucky. No, you're not actually, right? You got a meeting because the guy wants to meet with you, and you basically demand to qualify the investor, right? So basically, I would be really, and the investor would love it. He's like, wow, this guy is sharp, right? He's very sharp. He's basically telling me that, he needs to, meet with me for 10 minutes. You don't have to say like, we need to do a 2-hour lecture with each other. No, just meet the investor for just a 10-minute Zoom. Just get to know each other a little bit, so that when you meet that person in real face to face, you are able to really engage in a lot more. There is already a lot of thing that has happened, right? So homework has happened. So this is something that and founders must learn to say no. I think this is another thing. They have to learn to say no to distractions. This is a huge problem. Most of the people are nice and they keep saying yes to everything they say. So yeah, it's another art to say no to so many distractions that are going to come, during these events. Anyways,
And let me just say something. I'm sorry before we move, but because I think this is a very pro tip, and I feel like it's like power to founders, right? So you want, once you meet like face to face with an investor, or when you meet like for half an hour, you want to align everything so that meeting that you have, it's more of like your first due diligence meeting. It's not a 2-hour pitch, because investors, how many of those they get, so you want to kind of like separate yourself from the entire like deal flow. And you do that by by just reclaiming, your power, knowing exactly what you want from your investors, and just kind of like working up the relationship with the investor, and make sure that it's a priority for them as much as it is a priority for you. So yeah,
absolutely. And I can just give you some data point, Val. I had I had met almost 55 stakeholders over a 3-day period at Helsinki, a few years ago. Out of those 55, obviously I could not meet with all the 55 before my face-to-face. But at least 20 of them, I met with them at least once before my face-to-face meeting. And I can tell you, the quality of the face-to-face meeting was so different for these 20 people that I met already on Zoom. It's amazing. They just met me as if they knew me like for a few years. We just met for like 20 minutes on Zoom, right? But when you meet that guy in person, he's like, hey, like, like they're like, oh, it's amazing to see you. But if I had not met for those 20 minutes, right, the handshake that I would have done during the meeting would have been really cold. Hey, so they are taking a posture, I'm taking a posture, and both of
Yeah.
us are like posturing to each other, right? So you got to cut that bullshit,
Yeah.
before you do this. I cannot stress the importance of this pre-event time that you need to actually do. Anyway, let's run through the,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's
yeah,
continue.
yeah. So this is honestly, I would say, the most important thing. The post-event black hole, right? It's honestly the black hole. Even uh, in other than some examples I told you about the World Economic Forum or the Web Summits or the
Mhm.
slush that we have done, there are I would say even me, 90% of the time I don't follow my own advice. I let this slip because there is some amazing thing that is there pre-event, right? Because there's a huge thing, expectation,
Yeah.
and
Build
then
up.
during,
Uh-huh.
yeah, build up, and then during the event, look, basically during the event is really not in your control. It's all scheduled. I did 55 meetings over a 3 or 4 day
Uh-huh.
period, right?
Yeah.
Nothing was in my control. So I just like was going at 7 o'clock and starting my meetings and ending at 7 in the evening. So I don't think I didn't even think like how my during the event went. But when you're back and when you're tired, to be able to pull off this post event is really, you need to be such a disciplined personality to do this actually, right? Because the faster you make your connections, the faster you do your follow-ups, the faster you keep the momentum, the faster the return on investment, right? And I cannot, I mean, this might sound like generic bullshit, but actually this is in fact the most important thing that I have missed all throughout my life, right? I think this is easy to preach, extremely hard to follow, extremely hard to follow, unless you have a specialist team that is like whose neck is on the on the altar.
Mhm.
This is something that 95% of the people will never do for some reason. I don't know why, but I
But wait, this is something we see not only with our clients, that go to events. We see this with our clients that go fundraising as well. So I think one of the most overlooked aspects of the entire fundraising scenario is relationship building. And we see that in early stage, and Anis, you and I, we've seen that also when already like a company closes around an early stage seed or pre-seed and then wants to move to series A. Like the reason why most of the time that fails, besides all of the more, I would say, like technical, right, stuff like scaling your team, scaling your product, and all these kind of like fancy things, it's just relationship building, because you invest so much. And I take this because it happens again in just, fundraising, but or also happens during events, that you already invested so much. And I'm talking about money, of like your time, your speech, your energy into meeting people, and then to just let everything fall. So this is where one of our and by our I mean like our team, um superpowers is that we're really on top of like the client, and we try to take that burden off the shoulders of clients. And we do put a lot of expertise and effort into maintaining those
yeah,
relationships that, with the people
absolutely.
that you met.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, look, I met a lot of founders yesterday in an investor meeting, and most of them have done their seed and going to their Series A, and they were asking me for advice, and I just told them, look, uh, just one thing, right? Just keep, the founder was like extremely operational, so I told her, look, you really need to give up your job. As a founder who's done seed and moving to Series A, You cannot be involved in operations. You cannot be, I was even telling her, don't be even involved in strategy, product development. The only thing, and she was in this world of material science, it's like hardcore capital intensive field, not like AI where, you have a bunch of developers so I was just telling her, look, you need to go deep into fundraising full time. So your only job up to Series C, D, E is meeting investors, connecting with them, slowly building the relationship, nurturing that relationship, in non-intrusively updating all those investors with all your progress, because you do not want to go to them before they come to you. You want to make the investors come to you. That's gold, right? So I love this non-invasive approach of, just keep on updating the investors, without ever asking them how I'm going to do my A, are you in, because if you're doing that, then you're already lost it. You got to be able to just keep updating these people, what you're doing, the progress, and they should come to you. Of course, if they don't come to you, then, at the time when you're really raising that, of course, go to them. And she was really shocked that I was telling her to do this, because she was like, wow, but I'm really passionate about my product and this thing. Then I said, look, I'm not talking about you, but, one of your founding team has to have fundraising as a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right. Even then, in because you're in material science, even then it's not enough. You really need a strong team to support you, and and she was really appreciative. So I've just gone and said, let's come back to Web Summit Doha, right? So what we are trying to say is, we build these elaborate systems for attending events. This is not just I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about all my 30 years of attending events. Somehow we seem to have built elaborate systems for attending events, but when it comes to engineering the outcomes, I think generally I can say we are weak, and that's where we wanted to see how is there a formula to engineer those outcomes, right? And we built our solution on 3 legs. What could we do pre-event? What could we do during the event? And what could we do post-event? And if you read the 3 things, right? Pre-event, go after your clients. It don't mean clients, it can be anybody. Go after your clients, go after your partners, go after your investors. Yeah, it can be anybody, right? And during the event, make them come after you, right? That sounds extremely difficult, but it's possible, right? Make them come to you during the event. Obviously, in meetings, in dinners, in breakfast, don't lose a single breakfast meeting in a single dinner meeting, And then post-event, most of the time I find this very surprising. The people who look so good in person, right? When the investor is doing a little bit of tech, they look terrible, on their LinkedIn, on their Twitter. They haven't posted for months together. Their company pages down the drain, See, most of these people have a very beautiful, good-looking website. Don't get me wrong. So they all look very credible when you look at their website, their product videos are really good. But their social media is terrible. There is no social proof.
Yeah, I was going to say that that is an entire conversation that needs to happen and that we will address here. But I mean, just to emphasize your point, is like, you would not believe at this stage in life, right, with all social media kind of exploding and AI, how much people still overlook the importance of your social media, your online presence. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about curating your Instagram account. I'm just talking about your LinkedIn account. And we've come across some things that are just, border, just, and the reason why this is so kind of amazing to us is this, because these are people with great careers, that they've been in their industry for a long time. They're thought leaders in the space that they're in, and nothing of that is coming through their social media presence. And just one last thing about this is because there has been a paradigm shift in the past 2 years, at least in the fundraising space. And that is an investor will measure your degree of credibility by looking at your LinkedIn profile before they even decide to click on your pitch deck. So I don't, for some reason, that is still very much just overlooked across the board. So yeah, when we talk about pre-event, and now that you're mentioning post-event, that's one of the things we actually focus pre-event, because you want to make sure that you look credible. And we're not talking about like fantasizing or building something that you're not. Just have your entire reputation come through your social media profile, your website, and that will kind of like root or be kind of like the basis of where you will start building every other relationship. So it stems from that, as much as we've had some also clients that are a bit more old school, right, in that respect, and we need to walk them through. There are academic papers relating, the success of fundraising campaigns with, social media quality. So I just had to say that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll make a small reference. I think people can do a quick Google search here. So if anybody wants to see, it's actually the research was done by Stanford and a bunch of other university. It's called Social is the New Financial.
Yeah. And we have it. By the way, if anyone wants to get a copy of that, just, get in touch with Anis and I. We can certainly share that paper.
Honestly, I think, let them Google Val. I think, let people Google it and find it themselves. I think it should be easier. I don't think, but honestly, I think, this is our simple formula. Let's just dig in a little bit more into pre-event and post-event and, during event quickly. No big, magic bullets, but simple, like what do winners do, right? Winners basically do three things. They sell to their target audience, investors, clients, partners. They market to their target audience, and then they fundraise with their investors. I think, these are the three, so anybody who goes to Web Summit, right, is what looking at one of these three things. Either they want to sell one-to-one, or market to, one-to-many, or they want to, build relationships so that, they can increase their investors, right? These are the three things that we want to do. Let's look at each one of them, quickly. So let's look at just selling, right? Now, selling, these are the 7 steps, we highly recommend that you do. The first is you have to be able to identify and build a map. If I look at, I don't know. Let me know if you guys can see. Okay, no, I don't have it right now. So if I had my app opened, I would have shown you. There are like 10,000 people inside the event app. Now, no sane person is going to think all 10,000 are relevant, right? You need to be able to identify maybe even the 50 or the 500 or the 5,000 people that are relevant to what you're doing, right? So that's the first one. Second, most of these event apps do not give you the right LinkedIn profile, the right email, and so on and so forth. So you got to enrich them, And third, you got to research each one of those. Let's say you've found 500 people. You got to be able to research each one separately and execute a very personalized outreach strategy. That's my third advice. The fourth, you got to, build multiple channels to either build a transactional relationship, because, everything starts with a transaction, or you got to use the right channels to build long-term relationships. You have to be really, really clever about this, right? What do you want to do? You want to build transactional relationship. There are things where you need to do that, or you need to build long-term. And finally, book meetings before you boots hit the ground. Build this momentum through, thing. And, so yeah, I think these are the, core things that you have to do in the pre, right? Identify your people, enrich them, research them, outreach them in a very personalized way, and use the right channels to book the right meeting. So that's pre-event sales, right? Now, in terms of marketing, try and build momentum through, content. Obviously, put some good content out there and make it relevant to the event and make it relevant to the work that you do, make it relevant to the clients and investors. Tag them, tag the right investors in your content, tag the right clients on your thing, and also comment on when your clients or when investors, when they put stuff about the event or talk about them, then go and comment on them and talk. So don't just rely on this sales pitch to be in front of investors. Be there throughout with your marketing, commenting, tagging, and even this is another one which I don't think 99% of the people will never do this. Number two, build traffic through blogging about the event. And we can maybe next week we'll show, because we have done all of these things, right? We have built content, we have built blogs, we are already ranking number one in Google. For, let's say if you guys go and search maximizing Web Summit, you should see us either number one or number two, anywhere you are anywhere in the world. So so we will be able to show you by the time you come next week. We will show you at least 1,000 plus relevant people have landed in our blog and reading about what we do, etc., through just number two. And the same with commenting and tagging. And also, this one is a great example. What are we doing here, right? Well, this is another thing that I think 99.9% of the people miss it. Like, for instance, I have done more than 1,000 events in my life. I have never done this pre-event webinars. I have never done this. That I mean, like, it never occurred to me that it's possible to build some kind of excitement and momentum through these targeted webinars. Never occurred to me. I don't know why, but started doing it. From we did one in Sushi Tech, and then we did one in Slush, and then in Web Summit, and then in World Economic Forum, and now again back to Web Summit. So doing these webinars is proving to be extremely powerful in terms of attracting the right people and having the right conversation, and then encouraging to take the right actions, right? So that marketing is so important, right? And then finally, this is why I think 99% of the people are actually turning up at Doha, right? Fundraising, right? And this fundraising is no different, except on the client side, you'll have, like, I don't know, 20,000, 30,000 attendees. But on the fundraising side, it's much more easier. It's less than 1,000 investors. And honestly, when you dig deep into those 1,000 investors, there are less than 100 who will be relevant to you.
Exactly.
Right. So you got to be able to, really do deep research about every investor and execute deeply personalized pitching to each one of them. Always use LinkedIn to build long-term relationships, and try and book meetings before even the event starts, so that during the event you are not talking about your product, rather you're talking about yourself and why he should invest in you rather than invest in your product, right? You have to get the product. Go ahead.
The way, and this is also maybe a bit counterintuitive for well, not for most, but for a lot of founders. The number one criteria by which an investor decides to back a company, like the only true and absolute differentiator you have when you put, your startup against many other startups doing very similar things to what you're doing, is your team. So it's you. That's the irreplaceable, unique feature that an investor will look. So if we kind of connect the dots, having the team being the number one criteria, being what actually will set you apart from many other startups, then I think we can understand and the real important position that building a relationship has in the entire game. So I think a lot of the times it's very easy to get caught up in like that technology. And, there are a lot of founders that are very nervous about, putting together a pitch deck. And what if someone else like copies what you're doing? I'm like, if someone else can copy what you're doing, the only thing that will set you apart from them is you, like your personality, you running that company. So
Yep.
I just wanted kind of like to close the loop in how important it is. And we, I think we did kind of like a full cycle of relationship building and pre-event preparation, and
Yep.
how you can, the success of that huge investment we're all doing into going to Doha will, be determined by these preemptive actions that we can take in preparation. And you can't, I mean, you could try to do it alone, right, Anis? Because we also have a lot of clients coming to us saying, oh,
Yeah.
my budget has been allocated. So, and that's why we're doing this webinar, just to give you a roadmap, a guideline of what needs to be done. But we also
Absolutely.
understand that this will be absolutely overwhelming if, on top of these, everything that we've shown you, you're running your company, right? It's like, it's just, it's insane. And that's why you would need a team or someone from your team to dedicate time to this.
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
have, I think, 10 minutes left, Anise, and I don't know if we want to kind of like maybe take next week's webinar to go into phase two.
Yeah.
And I think
Look,
that way, yep.
yeah. No, look, honestly, if you ask me, 90% of what I really wanted to convey in today is, the pre-event is the real deal, right? If you have cracked the pre-event, everything will follow. If you have failed in pre-event, whatever dance you do during the event and after the event doesn't matter. So, I will just quickly brush through that, Val. It's because it's really not that difficult, right? And we will maybe, put this, in picture next week. Um, I think one of the things that I have started doing, which is unbelievable, Val, I'm sitting in meetings, I'm attending these meetings, and in real time, I'm sharing with the team the conversations and what I'm talking, and my team is constantly posting. So these guys who met with me are like, wow, I'm just like, how are you doing this? Right? You are with me, and I see that so much of real-time updates is happening on your LinkedIn, on your Twitter, right? How you met me, how you met them, how you met the other guys, and what knowledge is coming. So I think this whole, um, we think, like you would notice, Val, like people are extremely active pre-event, and then they go completely quiet during the event.
Silence. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Complete
Yeah.
silence. Why?
Mhm.
Why? Because they're working. It's not because they're not working.
Mhm.
They're really working hard.
Yeah.
They're really doing the meeting. But what I've discovered is by simply sharing my photos, my conversations, just snippets. I don't like write, you
Mhm.
know, things, right? I started doing this even in 2019, actually, right? When I was at the World Economic Forum, every day I wrote a blog, right? So I would just give the gist of what I want to do, and my team would do the rest, right? And that's really powerful. And you got to have a lot of discipline, to do something like that, right? So your photos, your ideas, you pick up something amazing, you make a note of it, and your team would make blogs, posts, comments, tags, whatever you want. The team is there to support you with that, because you can't be sitting with your phone and tagging some 30
Yeah,
clients.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So so that's the main thing that I want to stress. During the event, you can still dominate them by having a team that is supporting you, and every move you make is sort of reflected in your network. And
Just one
finally,
quick thing. If you're wondering, like, yeah, but I don't have a team, that's what we do. All right. Like, we've got you. We can be that team behind supporting all your work and giving visibility to everything you're doing during the summit.
yeah,
Sorry. So
no,
just
absolutely. No, no. Look, it's important that we say who we are, but honestly, start with you and your own teams. You come to us if you need specialist help. Very simple.
exactly.
That post-event prosperity is about I mean, there's too many words here, but honestly, you just need to follow up. Follow up on everything you did. Every post you did, every comment you made, every connections you made, every meeting you had, every Another important thing, always record your meetings. If even, I'm not saying, video, even when you're, this thing, record the conversation because it's worth its weight in gold, right? And most of the clients are okay. Most of the investors are okay these days because you want to really, unless you're discussing term sheets, it's just simple conversation. But this can be gold when we are doing follow-ups. Just record all your conversations quietly. Just audio is enough these days. You don't need video. So, simple stuff, right? Well, I think that's all I wanted to, cover, right? It's not, the success is not random. It's engineered, and it's engineered through smart tools like your event app, like LinkedIn, like Apollo, like Crunchbase for investors specifically. And then if only tools can give you results, well, everybody would be so successful, isn't it? But
Exactly.
yeah, so you need strong systems, playbooks and processes, which is what we have explained to you. All the things that we have told you is basically nothing but a set of playbooks, right? Which you can play. You can take this and play it, right? The only difference that what we have is we have built them like a system. We have an AI engine that will understand and research a client and then write what is the best way to approach that investor, right? So things like that, So our playbooks are powered by AI, and therefore it is significantly stronger than a typical "Hey, how are you? I would like to meet you," kind of an introduction, right? And of course, no tool, no system can just execute itself. So, we have expert teams who can comb through tools, comb through playbooks, comb through your things, and then execute them in a proper order. Right? So all these things, AI combined with playbooks, combined with skilled execution, is the only way to engineer outcomes. Everything else is you're just putting too much hope and hoping that it'll just happen. It won't. I'll pause here and then we can sort of take questions or
Yeah. Well, if there are any questions, we would like to address them. We're 2 minutes into completing the hour. Also, don't hesitate to reach out via LinkedIn to both Anis and I or anyone from the Step Up One team. We're, again, just very prompt to respond, and we love engaging with our webinar audience and just with anyone interacting with our content. So yeah, I don't know if there's any specific questions. I got a question in this, connecting with people through the app and doing the research. But I think I'll leave that for next week, Anis, because I think it's another very interesting topic. And again, we're on top of the hour. Yeah. So
yeah, no, I think, this is fine. I think, like there's one question I just wanted to quickly read out, from the live event. It says,
okay.
many of the pre-event strategies you mentioned require significant data analysis. Right? Realistically, how can a small startup with limited resources implement this? Yeah, no, I think that's really, I mean, look, it's the same whether you're a small startup or a significant enterprise. There is a lot of work, and you do need, some resources to do it. And my recommendation is that you are able to do it yourself. That's amazing because we are trying to give you and we will keep developing this playbook, more and more and more, and make it more and more detailed and more specific. For example, when we try to execute this playbook for Web Summit for Doha, we are finding a lot of small details, which is really important, right? Like for instance, I looked at the Web Summit Qatar investors. It's really strange, like 90% of them don't look like investors, and I take each one of them and cross-reference it with Crunchbase to see like what have they already invested in. And so far, I'm yet to come across somebody. I mean, other than the big names, look, I'm not worried about the big names, right? The big names are big names, and it's easy. You don't need to do Crunchbase research to know that this guy is
Yeah.
a big investor, right? But I just randomly picked a lot of investor names and try to put them onto Crunchbase to check what have they already invested in. Because, how can you have a conversation with an investor without understanding what have they already done in their previous investment cycles? And I couldn't find. So many people, see, this is not the problem of Web Summit, right? People want to call themselves as investors for whatever reason, right?
Because they don't self-identify. So one of the main challenges of fundraising is that investors don't self-identify.
Yeah. I mean, like the big investors, isn't it? So the problem is, I'm not saying therefore you shouldn't trust somebody. Maybe it's the first time for them. They want to invest, right? And they've never done it before. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm not saying you should doubt everybody. All I'm saying is you got to do deep research before you hit them, with whatever you want to hit them with, right? So we will keep, because, like, we're not claiming to be experts in everything, but we want to just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. So we're building playbooks. We are building AI engines. We are also building intelligence specifically for Web Summit Doha, because it's impossible to build all these intelligence without looking at the real data that is there, right? We have the list of clients, we have the list of investors, we have the list of media, we have the list of speakers. We need to identify who's the relevant for you, and then we should be able to, talk to them on your behalf and be able to, set up these meetings. So just stay tuned, and I think, we'll keep meeting every week, and until Doha happens.
Until we broadcast from Doha, because we'll do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Anis.
Definitely.
It was a great conversation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much, guys. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.